Today, I want to give you guys a no BS side-by-side deep dive into two of the biggest down payment assistance programs in the state of California. I tell everybody there's more than a handful of programs. However, when you lay them all out side by side, 99 times out of 100, you're either going to pick CalHFA or GSFA for a handful of reasons, but the main ones being is that they give you the most bang for your buck, the most money with the least interest. So today I want to look at just the FHA product. They also have conventional financing as well, but today we're going to look at FHA. So we're going to look at the pros and cons of each. We're going to versus FHA standard financing. We're going to look at the program differences, the interest rates, the income limits, and then this is where you're going to want to see the meat and potatoes of it. We're going to look at the assistance money that each gives you compared to each other, the down payment, the monthly payments, and then what we call the 4 buckets of closing costs. Now, when you do standard financing with FHA, there's only 3 buckets, but when you're down payment, there's an actual 4th, which I'll go through with you here. So looking at the programs versus standard financing on this side. So credit scores, the program, not the lender, but the program dictates your minimum FICO score needed to be able to qualify. So CalHFA starts at a 640. Same thing with GSFA. It is important to note that there is a carve out. So even though it starts at 640, if your scores are over 700 with CalHFA, they'll let you qualify for a little bit more in regards to the debt to income qualifying ratio. GSFA cuts that off at 680. So 680 and above, you can qualify for a little bit more as well. Standard FHA financing, if you say, hey, Ryan, I got my own down payment, I got my own closing costs, or maybe we get some seller assistance to cover it, they'll let you go down to a 580 with as little as 3.5% down. You can technically go down to 560 mid FICO scores and above to 580, but you need a 10% down payment. Just a little side note on that. Minimum down payment, all or some of your down payment can come from the assistance from the program, seller assistance, and obviously yourself. So you can also get gift funds from family members or employers. You can also pull money from a retirement account to use. Standard FHA financing, you have to come in with every last penny of the down payment. The down payment cannot have a portion of it covered by the seller or the agents. So you can pull from gift funds or retirement accounts as well, but you have to come in with it all. Repayment of the assistance funds. Now, this is where we start to deviate a little bit. So CalHFA gives you the money as what we call a silent second. You'll see the money recorded on title, but you do not have a monthly payment. The repayment is at the time of refinance or sale of your home, and I'll dig into that in the next page. GSFA, you do have a repayable second. It's a 15-year term, and the rate is the same as your first mortgage. So if GSFA rates, when you lock it in that day, is at 6.5, your second mortgage rate is going to be at 6.5 as well. Don't be too concerned. The payments are not crazy because you're only taking out 10 to 25, 30,000 on a repayable second. So usually the monthly payments are anywhere from, I see $100 to maybe 275, 300 at the highest price point allowed. So nothing insane there. And then the repayment of it, same thing, refinance or sale of the home, which we'll discuss a little bit further in depth. Obviously, standard FHA financing, you're not using assistance from the state, so you don't have to repay it. Duh. Program fees. So CalHFA charges $250, GSFA $400. Nothing crazy there. Nothing charged from HUD or FHA when you're doing standard financing. Non-occupying cosigners, this is a big one. So CalHFA requires that all cosigners, all signers on the loan are moving into the property as their primary residence. They do not allow non-occupying cosigners. So if mom and dad want to cosign for you, they cannot with CalHFA unless they're moving into the home with you as their primary residence. GSFA absolutely allows it. GSFA has more standard FHA following guides, so they give you a little bit more leniency and a little bit more creativity. Now, it's important to note whether you have a cosigner with GSFA or not, your standard FHA, if the cosigner is related, you can only have to do 3.5% down, your normal down payment. If the person that's co-signing that's not related, then you have to do at least 15%. as your down payment. This goes for standard financing as well as GSFA. Now, digging in a little bit more, so CalHFA here on the left, again, it's a silent second and you have no monthly payment. What I want to point out is when you look to refinance here, okay, that's where you're going to see a big difference. So you have to pay it back, AKA roll it into the new loan amount. So let's say when we go to refinance you, the balance to pay off your current loan's $500,000. The balance of the CalHFA money they gave you is $15,000. So now your total payoff is $15,000 more than your first mortgage. And let's just say approximately $5,000 for prepaids and closing costs on the cost of your refinance. So this would be $520,000. So your loan just jumped up $20,000. So on the refinance, your savings are not as great as if you did not have that money, because yes, your rate's going down, but your balance is going up, whatever you owe that program. On the right side here, it's a repayable second. Obviously, payments are required. Rate of the second, as we discussed. And again, it's not too crazy. I've seen it as high as like $280 a month, and that was for like a $660,000 loan. So nothing nutty there. But when you're looking to refinance, you're going to have a little bit more of a benefit over here versus CalHFA, because this is paid back over 15 years. So as you chunk that second mortgage down, you're going to be rolling in less on the refinance. So just something to think about there as well. Now, interest rates. You can go to every lender out there. Every lender is going to quote you the exact same interest rate because the interest rates are posted daily by the program provider. So I pulled this on December 3rd, and to get 3.5 in assistance with standard GSFA, FHA financing, the rate's going to be 6.5%. Your second rate, as I mentioned, is the same rate, and that's at 3.5%. You can see if you want more assistance, you're going to have to take a higher interest rate. So until rates come down, these aren't too advantageous unless you absolutely need them. These are different programs with GSFA. We'll discuss at a later video. Down below here, CalHFA, it's a little bit lower than the 6.5. It's at 6.25 as of the same day we took a look at this. So my main point here, lenders do not dictate the interest rate. The program provider does. Another big factor when you're looking at FHA, CalHFA on the left, you can find your county. These are income limits. So when the lender adds up your gross usable income per FHA guidelines, let's say you're buying in the county of San Bernardino, you have to be under the county loan limit. All borrowers on that loan add up their income annually. GSFA, no income limits. That's huge. I've had a couple clients jump from CalHFA to GSFA just on the income limits only. They made great income, but they were putting kids through school. They had a decent amount of debt, but they made great money, and their income was well over the income limits of the CalHFA program. So we jumped them over here. That's another big shining point for GSFA. Neither good, neither bad, just pointing it out to you. So the repayment of assistance money. So going off of the program we just looked at here, like we're going to compare a $600,000 to a $600,000 loan. So GSFA goes off of the total loan amount. So down payment plus UFMIP gives you the total loan amount. In this case, on a $600,000 purchase, your new loan amount would be a total of $589,132. So they'd be giving you $20,620 towards assistance on a $600,000 purchase. If you go CalHFA, CalHFA goes off the sales price, not the total loan amount. So you're going to get a little more, nothing to write home about, but it'll jump from $20,620 up to $21,000. The repayment is the second year. So this flushes out, as I was mentioning, nothing crazy, about $180 if we round it up on your repayable second with GSFA. CalHFA, there is no repayment. And it's good to note that it's at 1% simple interest, that second loan. So you can have it for a handful of years and the balance is not going to go up too crazy because it's at a simple interest accruing. Looking at the down payment piece, so $600,000 GSFA, You're going to be at a 6.5% rate, as we notated earlier. Same thing with CalHFA. FHA requires a minimum down payment, whether it's coming from you, the program provider, or gift funds, what have you. You have to come in with a 3.5%. So it's same thing, 21,000 based on a 600,000 purchase. As we showed earlier, the rate as of that day was 6.5%, and with CalHFA, it was 6.25%. All FHA loans have the same minimum down payment, 3.5%, no matter what. Looking at how these payments flush out. So I'm estimating the homeowner's insurance on both. You'll see they're both $150 a month. 1.25% property tax is estimated, which is a rule of thumb we start with. Both are 625. The PMI are pennies and nickels apart, so nothing crazy there. The rate is going to change the payment a little bit. So CalHFA had that 6.25 rate, 36.27 cents. 6.5%, it's going to be up to 37.23.71. Now you'll see that subordinate liens, that's the CalHFA money you're going to be, or excuse me, your GSFA money you're going to be repaying. So if we look at the total all-in number, assuming no HOA or nothing like that, you're going from 46.42 up to 49.18. Neither good, neither bad. So CalHFA is going to be about $276 a month less today, just on the monthly payment. But again, you got to think about your exit strategy when you go to refinance. Now, the 4 buckets of closing costs, I said it's 3 buckets normally, but when you're doing down payment assistance, there's an extra bucket. So the first bucket is your down payment. Like we mentioned a couple times, hell or high water, you got to come in with it. It's not going to show on either of these. Prepaids. Now, prepaids under E here, these are not third-party fees. This is your money you're prepaying in at closing to set up like a little slush bucket of money we call an escrow account or an impound account for your property taxes and homeowners insurance. So all you have to do is make your monthly payment moving forward, and the servicer will pay your taxes and insurance for you. So not a third-party fee. The third bucket here is actually a combination of bucket 3 and 4. So your third-party closing costs, lender, title, escrow, notary, appraiser, home inspections, you name it. Those are all the third-party fees associated with the purchase of the home. And it's way more inflated on the paper when you look at this because it's combined with the fourth bucket, which is your lender origination. So on all down payment assistance programs, believe it or not, lenders do not make a nickel on the loan unless they charge. So what happens is every lender's under contract with these programs that says, hey, every loan we do, we're going to only charge 1.5%. 1.75%, 2.5% origination. It has to be the same amount for every client. So there's no weird funny bunny business. We can give my brother a better deal than we can give you. That's how they lock and key. But it definitely goes towards your detriment. So they're giving you 3.5%, but the lender's charging you. In our case, we charge 1.5%. So you're flushing out 2% assistance when you add all this up, if that makes sense. Some lenders are at 2%, even 2.5% I've seen. So to me, I'm saying, what the hell is the point of even doing down payment assistance? Because you're paying on the money that they're charging you. So, but understand on bucket number 3 here, most of that's going to be title and escrow fees. That doesn't even come from the lender. And you can find that in another video as well. So don't think just the lender's jamming you up, because the seller chooses the agent to sell their home, as we know. And when we get under contract, 9 times out of 10, the agent selling the home is going to say, hey, congrats, you got the home. And by the way, here's the title company we're all using. Here's the escrow company we're all using. And a lender is not going to get their fees for a couple days after we get under contract. And majority of those fees are going to come from them. But in down payment assistance, yes, lenders are going to charge origination. Our good looks don't pay the bills anymore, unfortunately. So if we look at this, so your purchase price is $600,000, cost for the prepaids, cost for the closing costs. This is the upfront mortgage insurance premium that gets financed on top. So it looks like a fee, but it's actually financed on top. So your total cost, $633,880. Subordinate financing, that's the money in this case from GSFA. That's going to offset the closing costs. So your total cash to close in this scenario is about $24,000. Now, it's important to note, usually there's a seller credit in here. 9 times out of 10, if you're doing down payment assistance, you're going to ask for seller assistance, whether that's 5 grand, 10 grand, 15,000. That'll come off of your bottom line number here as well. So I hope this helps bring a little bit more clarity. Compare and contrast CalHFA to Golden State Finance Authority. Both great programs, but it's important that you understand it because it solves an immediate problem, cash flow to buy the home, but you got to think about your exit strategy when you do down payment assistance and rates come down and you ultimately want to refinance. Hope you have a fantastic day, and thanks for coming out.